All right, guys, Cody here. Let me get to a couple questions for this week. What I'm going to do now, from now on, is start the video with I'll read all the questions that I'm going to go through so that people that are not interested in the questions don't have to sit through the whole video to get to theirs to see if there's a question that was answered that they asked to. Generally, I put what I'm asking in the Instagram post or in the body, the description of the YouTube video. So the questions I'm going to get to today, have things slowed because of the coronavirus? Does Diaz have an obligation of service working at an overseas assignment while unarmed? Why did I leave DS? And then a little bit about retirement benefits. And some of these won't take too long because I don't have the whole scoop. But have things slowed because of the coronavirus? The answer is yes. I know agents that are not going into the field offices, that are working as remotely as possible. There are some people that still need to go into work. With regard to hiring, my understanding is they're not doing any more interviews at the moment. They're not not putting people through, or any further people through, training or processing or BEX panels or anything like that. So I don't have firsthand knowledge. I got this intel from people that are still in. They don't work at headquarters, but again, it's a small organization, and I believe that to be accurate. Does DS have an obligation of service? No, not really. When you go through training, they'll kind of threaten you with, hey, if you finish training, you owe us at least a year, or you got to pay the government back. I don't know how true that is. I don't know of anyone that stayed less than a year. I mean, you get to your field office and you work, and then and most people stay for beyond a year. I know one guy that left around a year, but most people stay beyond that. I don't know anyone, again, like I said, that left. If they did, and I don't know how accurate or true it is that they would make you pay, $100,000+ to pay back. But no obligation of service. It's not like the military. You can jump pretty quick. You can jump while you're in FLETC, or while you're in training. You can jump to another organization, and that happens on occasion. Let's get to the other one. I've been asked a few times why did I leave DS, and I assume the question is, why'd you leave DS if you loved it so much, if you liked it? Well, there's plenty of reasons why one would leave. I had personal reasons. I got married. And while you can be married and have a family overseas, I have a stepdaughter, and there are custody issues at hand in which I was unable to continue my career. So that's why. But I'll leave it at that. Are there good retirement benefits? Yeah. So the benefits, or the law enforcement benefits, are similar to the FERS benefits, but they fall under FSPS, Foreign Service Pension Service. I got to be honest, I don't know a ton about this stuff. I thought I did at one point, but it's so in-depth and detailed. But I would encourage you to go. There's information online. Go to look up FSPS, it's Foreign Service Pension something, and look it up, and you can find that information there. But sorry, not in HR, and I just don't know. The other question I had is to talk about working at assignments when you're unarmed, and without giving up any OPSEC, of course. And I'll tell you, there's a significant amount, or probably most assignments, I'll say most, many assignments where you are unarmed. You don't just walk. You can't just walk around in a foreign country, with a gat on your hip. It doesn't work like that. There are plenty of countries where you can. Probably some places in Africa, definitely in the Middle East, where you have to have a gun when you go out. There are places, for example, in Vietnam, I was unarmed. Now, I had access to my weapon in the office, and of course, if you have a Marine Security Guard attachment, they have plenty of weapons, and generally the RSOs. Well, I don't say generally, but RSOs will oftentimes keep their weapon down there. They'll definitely have one or two assigned, especially long guns, to an RSO. And so, you'll have access to it. But just operating in a country, where you don't need it, if you're walking around, Bern, Switzerland, you're probably not going to be carrying your pistol. And you probably won't carry it in the embassy. Now, I'll give you an example. When I was a Marine security guard out in Moscow, the first crew of DS agents, and they had like 8 of them there, they were never armed. They would walk around, with their shirt tucked in, and no sport coat or anything. They didn't have their weapon on them, and that was up to the RSO. And I imagine with some input from the DCM, or not, or he just said, you don't. The RSO really doesn't need the DCM's input to say, I'm not letting the guys walk around unarmed. If you do, and I'm generalizing, of course, if you want them to be armed, then that might be something that you check with the DCM. Some RSOs I know will just pull the trigger and say, yeah, you can be armed, and, deal with the consequences later if the DCM says that you can't. So, but the first group of agents, when I was a Marine in Moscow, weren't armed. Again, they had access, but they didn't carry anything around, their weapons around. The second group that came in, and there's a reason they had the whole turnover of pretty much all of them at one time. It was an interesting time in Russia at the time. And the second group had their badge and they had their gun. It's like they're walking around a field office. So the field office is generally, you wear a button-down shirt, short sleeve button down, long sleeve button down, untucked, and you'll cover your sidearm. Or you wear a sport coat. Some people wear vests. But these guys were walking around the office space, the regional security office space, with their pistol on their hip and their badge on. And then if they'd go out to the rest of the embassy, they'd throw a sport coat on. So it was just two different, mindsets or just personalities with the RSO office, and they made those decisions, and that's how they did it. But I wouldn't put too much emphasis on, oh man, I don't have my pistol with me. Like, it's not that serious. I mean, you're working in some of these places. Now, again, there are places that you will want your pistol, and there's some places with hardly any rules, right? Or you can get away with anything, and I would encourage you to do your own assessment, or an assessment, maybe even take the department's assessment that you need your sidearm. And places in Africa, places obviously in the Mideast, in which you're allowed, carry the freaking thing. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I had contact today with I answered one more question, and he didn't ask the question for this specifically, but we were just in conversation on Instagram, and he asked, why not go with the agency instead of DS? And he's talking about GRS. So GRS does high threat protection for the agency. Most of those guys are special operations guys, and they do strictly protection at embassies, overseas, high threat protection. I believe, they fall under their protective services division, and I may have the wrong terminology. But those guys do strictly protection. DS is a completely different entity and style. It's a law enforcement organization. Sure, they have the high threat protection component that marries up to what GRS does, although we do it very differently. And that's why you just have to make a decision on what you want to do. Do you want to live in these environments that are a bit more hostile and work the 60 days on and 30 or 60 off, and for a lifetime? Or do you want a career where you're going to manage security, you're going to do investigations, you're going to do some protection, some high threat protection, and kind of have a life that you can live overseas? Of course, the agency has other jobs that you can get into that are completely not related to law enforcement or protection, and that's just a decision you got to make if you want to do that. But that was my articulation to him, it's just two completely different things. So anyway, I think that's all I got for now. I have a few other questions. I'm going to try to keep this one short. I did want to end with the audiobook is done. And so I am doing a little bit of quality control right now, listening to it. I think it came out pretty good. For you guys that know the process, it's 3 different days. So like on every third day, and every day I sounded almost a little different. I feel like the last day I was tired and I probably drank the night before. So, but I think it came out pretty good, and so I'm looking forward to getting that out to you guys. I don't know a date yet because I don't know Amazon or Audible's timeline yet on how long it's going to take them to approve it once you submit it. But I'll get that information out. And thanks for the support for those that are asking. Check me out. I have a website up now. It's a new website. It's just my name, Cody Perron. There's a reason for that. I'm looking at writing another book, 2 other books, one with a DS component, and then another one that's more about, pretty much all about DS. And that could be years down the road. I'm brainstorming it, so I'm not sure. But anyway, I wanted to have a website where I can just kind of do a bunch of different things. Also looking at doing some podcasting. Still in the startup phases, but just kind of thinking on that and basically just trying to hustle, man. It's Southern California. It's expensive. I got a family, right? So anyway, Agents Unknown _book, Instagram, that's where I'm most active. I do have a little bit going on Twitter. I have an Agents Unknown Facebook. There is a Becoming a DSS Agent Facebook page that is somewhat, it's a group, somewhat active. I'm active in it. I say a few things, but really it's a community of people, of guys and girls that are interested. I know today someone signed up that is actually in BSAC. I know there's a guy that's a current DS agent in there. So I would encourage you to go to that page and just, or that group, and just sign up. And whenever we post something that comes up, or if you have a question, ask, and we'll respond. And I have, if a question does come up, I'm on there often, and so I can speak to any questions you might have. And it's good to just build community. So I encourage you to check it out if that's something you want. None of this costs. It's all free. There's not a lot of info online about DS, and that's one of the things I'm trying to do while promoting this book, obviously, and trying to get information out there. So anyway, I appreciate everyone's time, and let me know what other questions you got. Thanks, y'all. Out.